foundation, in fact, would like to appreciate with sincere gratitude and thanks to Yang Berbahagia, Tan Sri Datuk Sri Paduka Dr. Lim Kok Wing, founder and president of Lim Kok Wing University of Creative Technology, and Yang Bahagia Datuk Lim Kok Wing Jr. Remember, together we can make a difference in the breast cancer history. To all our delegates, have a great day ahead today and tomorrow.
To all of you who are present today, especially the council members of the Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation and the Breast Cancer Patients and Survivors, you can make a difference by playing an important role in educating the public on early screening, and as well as there is availability of effective treatment of breast cancer. As you all know, breast cancer in women is a major public health problem throughout the world. But hope is there. Harapan is there.
Pink ribbon. We can see faith in your eyes with courage, feeling inside. It takes a strong heart to fight. Leave the failures all behind. Let us run towards the light. It's gonna be alright.
My message to all of you, to dream big, to live, to laugh, to love, but be grateful. Encourage others, because you are here not only as a survivor, but you are also to come and learn and be the ambassador for the future of other cancer survivors in wherever you are.
It takes a strong heart to fight. Leave the failures all behind. Let us run towards the light. It's gonna be alright. We will be fine.
Every 14 seconds, someone in some part of the world is diagnosed with breast cancer. According to data compiled by the Ministry of Health, most breast cancer cases reported were diagnosed at advanced stages. Therefore, it is important that we women get our girlies examined regularly. Breast cancer does not have age limit. So as soon as you hit 20, please get those goals checked, because early detection is key to survival. Hello everyone, and welcome to Shield Your Girlies live webinar. My name is Belinda and I will be your MC for today. Before we go any further, allow me to briefly share with you what the campaign is all about. In conjunction with the Pink October month, Shield Your Girlies is a breast cancer awareness campaign led by Team Lemonaide, a group of postgraduate students from the Master of Science in International Business Communications program at Asia Pacific University. The aim of this campaign is to urge women from all over the country to get their breasts examined as soon as possible. As we all know by now, breast cancer knows no boundaries. Whether you are young or old, you are at risk. Reports have shown that the chances of survival is much higher when breast cancer is detected early. Therefore, the message that we want to drive home today is early detection saves lives. We are truly honored to have two reputable organizations, Beacon Hospital and Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, to partner with us in making this event possible. So thank you, Beacon Hospital and Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, for your utmost support. We hope that by the end of this program, you will have a better understanding of what breast cancer is all about, how to minimize your risk, to know what are the latest treatments available, and most importantly, to take action by getting your breast checked on a regular basis. We have an interesting program lined up for today. First, we have Miss Fiona from the School of Media and Marketing, who will officiate the webinar with her opening speech. Next will be Dr. Tan's presentation, followed by a short Q&A session. If you have any questions or concerns that you would like to ask any one of our speakers, you can post your questions in the comment section. We will try our best to answer all of your questions. Right after the Q&A session, Ms. Asunta from Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation will be sharing her personal journey battling breast cancer. Then there will be a short promo by Beacon Hospital's marketing team. Following that will be Dr. Aras's presentation and a short Q&A session thereafter. Last but not least, we have Miss Samantha, another brave survivor from Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, who will be sharing her experience going head-on with breast cancer. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Fiona Lata Sadagopan, our Senior Lecturer and Academic Leader from the School of Media and Marketing.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. As part of the MSc International Business Communication Program, actually, students are required to plan and execute a public communications campaign. And this does give them first-hand experience in running their own PR agency. This particular program as such is coordinated by our master students in MSc. And we'd like to thank everybody for your participation on behalf of Asia Pacific University. We've had many interesting campaigns in the past, but this is the first time that we've had an external partner, especially from esteemed organizations such as Beacon Hospital and Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, to help make this campaign a success. I'd like to take this opportunity to actually thank both Beacon Hospital and Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation for this amazing collaboration. We really look forward to working together on more projects in future. Once again, on behalf of the academic team and students of APU, we thank you for your participation. We truly hope that you'll be edified with knowledge and understanding by the end of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fiona. I will now pass the floor to my fellow team member, Ms. Carissa, who will introduce our first speaker. The floor is yours, Carissa.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Carissa Narona, and I am a student at Asia Pacific University. For today's session, I am pleased to introduce Dr. Tan Ji Hui. As a consultant breast and oncoplastic surgeon at Beacon Hospital, Dr. Tan performs a wide range of procedures. She has an extensive expertise as a consultant and a strong track record of achievements in the medical practice sector to her name. She is also skilled in research, management, clinical research, and surgery. She specializes in oncoplastic breast surgery and reconstruction, endoscopic breast surgery, hereditary breast cancer, and male breast diseases. We will have a Q&A session at the end, so everyone please hold your questions till the end of the presentation. The floor is yours, Dr. Tan.
Thank you, Carissa. Hi, everybody. Okay, let's start. Can I bring up my slides? Okay, all right. So today the topic is early detection saves life. I think this is something that is very dear to all of us, not only women and also men. So we're going to look at a few things that concerning breast cancer. First, we're going to have an overview of breast cancer. So we're going to talk about what are the risk factors, what are the signs and symptoms, and how does a doctor actually come to a diagnosis? I mean, how do we diagnose a breast cancer? I think that's actually very important. And what are the options of treatment? And last but not the least, the breast self-examination and also screening. So as was mentioned before, breast cancer is actually the most common cancer in Malaysia. Okay, if you look at this chart, actually is we're looking at two periods, which is from 2007 to 2011, and the other one is 2012 to 2016. You realize that, you know, breast being number one, which is about 30% of all the cancer in women, and then the incidence is actually rising from 31.1 to 34.1. and we do expect it to go higher and higher as well. So this is definitely something that we should pay attention to, and we should know how to basically detect it early. So this chart, it shows that how common is breast cancer in Malaysia. So this is actually a little bit old, but we believe that now it's not 1 in 20, it's probably 1 in 17. That means every 17 women, there will be one woman in Malaysia who will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. So if you look at the breakdown of races, you can find that actually for Chinese and Indian, it's 1 in 16, but for Malay is 1 in 28. Okay. So why is that so that we think that there's a few reasons. One is that because the risk factor is different. So because we know that Malay women tend to get married early, and then they have more children, that also they breastfeed much longer compared to other races, this actually protect them. And second reason, it could be some underreporting as well, because sometimes some women in the rural area, they actually don't go to the hospital, so we actually didn't capture that part of the data. So that could be the reason why there is so much of difference in the risk. So like was mentioned earlier as well, our biggest challenge actually for doctors in Malaysia is patient come late. Okay, that means they actually tend to present at stage 2 and stage 3. So overseas, when you look at Western country, patient usually present at stage 0 or stage 1, which is totally different. Because when the patient present at stage 0 and stage 1, we're talking about a cure rate of almost close to 100%. But when patients come at stage 2 and stage 3, the cure rate is actually much more lower. Okay, we're going to go deep into that later. So how does cancer affect our life? Okay, of course, it's a very traumatic experience. It's a traumatic experience at the beginning, and then it does affect the woman, not only physically, psychologically, but it also causes a lot of financial burden as well. And then we find that, 1 year after diagnosis, 11% the patient probably die, and 45% have financial catastrophe. Only 44%, those maybe probably with those with insurance or those who actually manage to get good treatment in the government hospital, they do well. So cancer is something that if you detect early, you actually don't have to do so much of treatment. I mean, the earlier you are diagnosed or the earlier you're being treated, the lesser the treatment that you will need. What are the risk factor then? Okay, knowing breast cancer is serious, we all acknowledge that. Then how do we know what are the risk factor and how do we cut down on our risk factor? So a lot of time I get asked, it's like, why, especially when we break the bad news, the patient will ask, why do I get breast cancer? So there's actually no single answer to that question. We think that it's an interplay of genetic and environmental, means that partly it could be a genetic component to it. It also have to have environmental factors also come to play. They both work together, then only it will trigger a woman or a man to have breast cancer. So if you look at this pie chart, you realize that you see that sporadic environment. That is how common it is. And only 15 to 20% is familiar. That means environmental and also genetic. And pure caused by genetic, that means hereditary. Like for example, Angelina Jolie has a BRCA1 mutation. That is only 5 to 10%. So from this chart, it can tell us that how serious environmental factor it could be. So genetic is only a very small component. Then what do we do then? So what are the things that we can change and what are the things that we cannot change? So risk factor, there are certain risk factors that we can't change. For example, age. We know that the older we grow, actually the higher our risk of getting breast cancer. That is something that is known. So some women say that, if I reach 70, I'm good and well, so I should stop going for mammogram. That is not true. Because the older we get, the risk is higher. And race, of course, these are the things that we cannot change. Some race are prone to breast cancer, like what we talked about just now. So this is something that we can't change. Family history, we cannot change. But what we can do is that we can be more alert and we probably go for screening much younger as compared to normal populations. Personal health history, for example, for people who have childhood lymphoma before and where they have radiotherapy to the chest wall during puberty, they also stand a higher risk of breast cancer because of the radiation to the breast bud. So this is something that we cannot change because it comes with the treatment. early menstruation. When we talk about early menstruation, means that when a girl gets her first menses before the age of 12, that's considered early. Or late menopause, that means a woman stops menstruating after the age of 55. Why is early menstruation and late menopause is a risk factor then? Because the longer the duration that you have period during this lifetime, means that early menstruation and late menopause, the longer that our body is being exposed to estrogen changes. So this does predispose us to a higher risk of breast cancer. Then what are the things that we can avoid, that we can do? This is something that we can really work on it. The environmental factor we talk about. Sedentary lifestyle. So a lot of us, we don't exercise enough. So that actually brings on not only cardiovascular disease, not only obesity, but it does give us increased risk of breast cancer as well. And alcohol consumption. For those women who drinks alcohol, excessive amounts of alcohol, they also have increased risk of breast cancer, because alcohol is being basically we say detoxification happens in the liver. But excessive consumption of alcohol, when the liver is busy trying to detoxify the alcohol, what happens is that it doesn't have time to detoxify the estrogen in the body. So because of that, then the estrogen level in our body will be building up, and that increase our risk for breast cancer. Combined hormone therapy and also hormonal replacement therapy, or sometimes oral contraceptive pills. But there is something which is very arguable, in the sense that the risk is very, very low, and the woman had to use it continuously at least for more than 5 years. Then only it increases the risk a little bit. So we always say that it's not wrong to take combined hormonal therapy, and it's also not wrong to take oral contraceptive pills. But first, maybe understand your risk factor, and second, probably minimize the duration of usage. Just use it as long as you need it. So we're talking about just now a little bit about BRCA. BRCA is something which is a gene disorder, genetic disorder that is being inherited in some families. So why this is something which is very important? Because when you have a mutation of BRCA1, BRCA1, the chances of getting breast cancer is about 55 to 65%. Some even report up to 70%. But if you, let's say, a normal, that means if you have no BRCA gene disorder, the chances of develop breast cancer is about 12%. You can see the difference. There's a lot of difference. It's almost like 5 to 6 times. And this come into the limelight is because when Angelina Jolie declared that she was going for a bilateral mastectomy, and she had a bilateral reconstruction as well. And a few years later, she actually went for ovarian removal as well. This is because she knows that she is a BRCA carrier. So these are the measures that she took to lower her risk for breast cancer, though she never developed breast cancer. So other than talking about women breast cancer, actually men also develop breast cancer. So if there's any man in the crowd, there's something that we should take home as well, in the sense that as we talk about alcohol, so the risk factor for men is almost the same. So you have genetic disorder, heavy alcohol, excessive alcohol usage, aging, liver problems. Same as just now when we explained about the alcohol and the liver function. If you have chronic liver disorder, the liver is not functioning well. So it cannot excrete the estrogen in your body effectively. So it causes a build-up of estrogen in the body as well. So men also have estrogen in their body. It's just that they are much lower level compared to women. So hereditary that we'll talk about just now, and excessive body weight. So how the excessive body weight causes increased risk of breast cancer. So when somebody has excess body weight, basically there's excess body fat. So when somebody have extra store of fat, they actually this fat get changed into female hormone through a process what we call aromatization. So when somebody have high fat in the body, they also have high level of estrogen. So that applies to men and women as well. So the chances of men getting breast cancer is 100 times less common compared to women. But yet there's about every 1,000 patient there is every 1,000 men there is one man who eventually will develop breast cancer. And they tend to come late. The reason being that because men don't realize that it could be cancerous because it's usually painless until it's too late. So they tend to present much later. So then next question is asked is like, so a lot of time we have to go out and socialize. So how much we talk about alcohol is no good. So how much is too much? Okay. So we talk about drink, so per drink. So one can of beer is considered 1 unit, or a glass of beer, a glass of red wine, or a small shot. So basically, this is considered 1 drink. So for women, probably 1 drink per day. For men, maybe up to 2 drinks per day. But if anything more than that consistently, then that's considered excessive intake of alcohol. So that poses increased risk for breast cancer. So next, we're going to talk about signs and symptoms of breast cancer. What are the things to look for? It's only if we know what are the signs and symptoms, then we'll be able to recognize it and come to see doctor early. So let's just go through the anatomy of breast first. This is basically the cross section of breast. As you can see that this little red round thing is actually the malignant tumor, basically means cancer. They usually occurs in the breast duct. That's why if you look through the report, it's always an invasive ductal, infiltrating ductal, because they are the commonest kind of breast cancer. So this is how a breast cancer symptoms could look like. We use lemon to represent it. Okay, let's start with the top left corner. Thick mass, basically if you feel like a bulge there. It's a mass which has never been there before, and then you've been there more than 2 weeks, even after period, it doesn't go away. There's something you should consider. Is there a lump underneath? Or indentation. Suddenly you find that the skin of the breast doesn't look normal. Basically, it's sort of like sunken in a little bit, indented. So that is something which is also uncommon, because that could signify that there is a tumor that's inside the breast and is pulling the skin inwards. So that is the reason why you get an indentation. Or skin erosion. We see that, some people think that, oh, they could be just a rashes and eczema. It doesn't go away. Especially older lady, they would think that there's nothing, because usually it doesn't hurt and it doesn't itch. But if let's say the skin erosion doesn't get better in 2 to 3 weeks time, I always say please see a doctor, because sometimes it could be an atypical presentation of breast cancer. And red and hot breast. And we know that breast infection is quite common, especially when you're breastfeeding. You can get a mastitis, they get red and hot breast. But if one day a woman is not breastfeeding and yet suddenly the breast become hot and red and it's painful, and it doesn't go away, despite you take antibiotic, you have been given painkiller, it doesn't go away. There's something which is called inflammatory breast cancer, which is also very aggressive, and it need to be picked up early so that it can be treated early. So always bear in mind, if you have red and hot breast and it doesn't go away after normal treatment, you probably should seek specialist opinion to see that whether do you need further imaging and any biopsy. New fluids. Normally, we do not have nipple discharge. Nipple discharge is only normal when you are breastfeeding, you get breast milk coming out from the nipple. Or once in a while, maybe during the period time, you get a bit like clear color liquid, just like tiny little drop. But if persistently getting liquid, and especially if let's say they are blood stained, that is something that to be very worried. And you need to see a doctor, because that could mean that there's something growing in the duct. That's the reason why it's producing the blood. So please see a doctor. Or dimpling. When you realize that the skin actually is started to look like what we call orange skin. When it starts to look like orange skin means that it's actually is abnormal, and that the reason why the skin changed to be like this is because the superficial lymphatic system is being blocked by the cancer. So this causes the skin changes that to look like orange skin or a lemon skin. This is not normal. See a doctor early. Or when you have a little bump, then you realize that, oh, something is bulging out, same thing. Or growing veins. If you've never seen any obvious veins on the breast, but one day you actually saw some, it's like, and then the other breast totally none. There's something that you should think, is there anything? Do I feel alarmed? Do I feel anything unusual? You probably should go for a checkup as well. Or you have sunken nipple. Sunken nipple could be quite common in a lot of young ladies or teenagers when they grow up. Some women grow up with a sunken nipple, we call a inverted nipple. This is normal. If let's say they have it since they reach puberty, this is what we call a physiological inverted nipple. But if your nipple was never inverted, but at the age of 35 or at the age of 45, it started to get inverted, then this is wrong. Something is wrong. Means that there is something behind the nipple and pulling it inwards. So that's something that we should be worried about. And when you see a new lump or new bulge growing up, that's something that you need to see a doctor. Orange peel skin, we just talked about this. And sometimes a lot of early breast cancer actually invisible, means that you don't see it, don't feel it, and they usually pick up by scans. So that's the reason why the screening is so important, because before you can feel a lump, before you can see a lump, that means the lump is very small, and it also means that the cancer is very early stage. So these are the pictures that it doesn't, okay. This one doesn't really, okay. I was trying to show other pictures, but it doesn't work. Okay. This is one of the pictures that shows that how the ulceration of the breast occurs. This is definitely a cancer, and very sadly, we still see cases like this in Klang Valley. We thought that, at this era, with so much of health education and also with social media, people will come early. But we still see women who come to see us with this kind of ulcer, because they still have a lot of misconception about breast cancer treatment. So when somebody have a lump, or somebody have a pain, or they have a discharge, when they come and see a doctor, what does the doctor do? How do we diagnose breast cancer then? There's certain steps that we follow. This is what we call a triple assessment. That means we do three things. The first one is clinical assessment. That means the doctor will go through the family history, will go through the medical history, will go through the presenting illness, and check the patient. It's called clinical assessment. Imaging means that we do the necessary scan. And then histopathology means that we take a tissue diagnosis, so that we know what kind of cell or what kind of tissue that is growing in that particular lump. Okay, this is how we do a clinical assessment. First, it started with a consultation, so that we can understand your risk factor. We can understand, do you come from a high risk background? Do you come from a normal risk? So what are the things that we could change to alter your risk and give you some advice? Then the doctor will examine you. Okay. After that, when we talk about imaging, when you're less than 40, usually the first line of treatment, first line of scan is actually an ultrasound, because when you're less than 40 years old, your breast is very dense. Dense means that the mammogram, that means the X-ray of the breast, doesn't pass through very well, and it just looks white. So we can't gain much information from the mammogram. So we always reserve mammogram to patients who are more than 40 years old. So when you're less than 40, we'll say the first thing to do is to do an ultrasound, which is very safe, which is no radiation, there's nothing to worry. It's just the same scan that we use to see our baby. Okay. So when more than 40 years old, most of the time we do mammogram, and sometimes we need to do ultrasound as well. Especially we find that Asian women tend to have dense breasts. So basically, although they're already more than 40, but their breasts still can't see much on the mammogram, because the shadow are still very opaque, very white. So in that case, we usually will do a mammogram plus an ultrasound. In some young women, who are very high risk, or sometimes we saw a tumor, we want to know, is there any other small tumor? We do an MRI breast. So MRI breast is very good, it's very sensitive, and it's recommended for a dense breast. The only problem is that it's a little bit more time consuming, and also it costs more. So how much radiation is mammogram then? A lot of times I get patients who come and feedback, say that they don't want to do mammogram because they're worried of radiations. Okay, so radiation is actually very, very low when you do a mammogram. So if you look at the chart, the average annual background radiation. So mammogram is equivalent to about 70 days of background radiation. So what is background radiation? Background radiation is like, we use our digital gadget, we use our phone, our iPad, our computer, all these have radiations. So if 70 days we do not touch any of this, that we could have done a mammogram. So the radiation is very low. And we all know that, everybody can't live without a gadget these days. So if you can actually cut down on your usage for 70 days, I think that you deserve a mammogram, in the sense that the radiation is not an increased, radiation is not an issue. So, and also mammogram is the same as for chest X-ray. Chest X-ray is the one that when you go for a medical checkup, then they will actually see your lump. So sometimes when you call the doctor not getting better, the doctor also asks you to go for a chest X-ray. So we only do mammogram probably every 1 to 2 years. So it's actually very safe. The radiation is actually very negligible. So last is the histopathological examination. That means a biopsy, or how do we get a tissue diagnosis. There's a certain way to get a tissue diagnosis. So we can use a vacuum-assisted core needle biopsy, which is a bit bigger, so which is good that we can get a good chunk of tissue. Or we can do a fine needle aspiration. This is not so popular this day, because When fine needle aspiration will only get some cells out. So cells, sometimes we can't see the structures of the tissue. And a lot of time, if you, let's say the yield is not very good, they actually can't give you a very conclusive result. So the gold standard is either a core biopsy, which is commonly done, or a vacuum-assisted biopsy. These are the two biopsies that usually we will recommend to the patients when we want to do a tissue diagnosis. So only after we have done all these three triple assessment, the clinical assessment, imaging, and also tissue diagnosis, then we can come to a conclusion and tell the patient for sure, is this lump benign, that means non-cancerous, or is this lump malignant, which means cancerous? Then what do we do from there? So next we're going to talk about breast cancer staging and also survival. So if you know about breast cancer staging, it actually ranges from stage 0 to stage 4. Stage 0 is what we call a DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. Basically, the cancer doesn't have any potential to invade to other tissue yet. So the cure rate, the survival rate, the 5-year survival rate is 100%. And stage 1 is when the tumor is very small, it's less than 2 centimeters, and there's no lymph node involvement. This is what we call very, very early stage. The survival rate is 98%. This figure is more or less the same in Malaysia as well. But when you're stage 2, then we talk about a tumor which is between 2 to 5 centimeters or 1 to 3 lymph node involvement. The chances is still very good when you're stage 2. We talk about 5-year survival rate of close to 85 to 88%. But when stage 3 and stage 4, the survival rate dropped remarkably. You can see that stage 3 is only about 52% and stage 4 is about 16%. Stage 4 means that the cancer has spread to other organs outside the breast. So what are the favorite organs of breast cancer spread then? Number one is brain, followed by lung, followed by bone, and also liver. So the commonest site for breast cancer to spread is lung and also bone. So sometimes we can see that why patients have like fluid in the water, or they suddenly fell down, they have pathological fracture, then only they come to diagnosis of a breast cancer. So what are the treatment that is available once we confirm breast cancer? A lot of time patients get stuck at this stage because they do not understand their options and they hear too much, from the relative, from whatever social media, but they don't get the correct information. So what are the treatment that we actually offer patients? So basically, if you look at the treatment options, we can divide them into two big groups, what we call a local treatment and also systemic treatment. Local treatment, for example, which consists of surgery and radiation. Local means that whatever that you do on the breast. So surgery is what you do on the breast. Radiation also the same thing, because you radiate the breast. You put the radiotherapy to shine the breast. That's why I call local treatment. But systemic treatment is something that you take it and it circulates in your body. So for example, hormone treatment, hormone pills, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, these are all systemic treatment because they will enter your body and then it circulate in your body. So this is called systemic. So a lot of time for breast cancer treatment, we need a combination of local and systemic. Only very rarely that we do local treatment only. But if let's say today somebody has stage 4 breast cancer, sometimes we can't even offer surgery. So the first thing to do is actually a systemic treatment. They probably go for chemo or targeted therapy first. So what are the type of breast surgery that we do offer? Okay, the two big type is what we call a breast conserving treatment and also mastectomy. Breast conserving treatment, as a name per se, means that we conserve the breast, we keep the breast. So this is the first option, our favorite option, in the sense that if we can keep the breast of the patient, we keep the breast of the patient, as simple as that. So a lot of women, they are very worried to come to see doctor is because they worry that the moment they will declare cancer, the doctor will say just do a mastectomy, because they have fear. They have fear that they do not want to lose their breast. But actually, as a surgeon, if patient come early with a very small tumor, we can save the breast. We'll save the breast. What we do is that we just do a lumpectomy. We remove the breast lump, the breast cancer lump, and then we remove some of the tissue, and patient go for radiotherapy. Then they are done. So it's very simple, and patient get to preserve the breast. They will just go back to their normal life. But if the tumor is very big, there's no way that we can preserve the breast, like by taking out 80% of the breast tissue and keep the 20% there. It doesn't serve any purposes and there's no cosmetic outcome. So in this kind of scenario, we have to do a mastectomy. means that we have to take off the entire breast, and then patient will have scar on the chest wall, which is just like one line. This is not our favorite option, but sometimes we have to offer it if, let's say, the tumor is advanced, what we call a locally advanced breast cancer. Then, for those young women, especially, or even older women, but they feel that, they do not want to lose their breast, but they have to go for a mastectomy. Now we also have the options of having a breast reconstruction. So breast reconstruction means that we build a new breast. So this breast reconstruction, this building a new breast can happen during the same surgery as we remove the cancer, remove the breast, or it can happen later as well. So if it happened at the same time of the cancer surgery, this is called an immediate breast reconstruction. If it happened later, maybe years later, it's called a delayed breast reconstruction. So there's a few places that we can do to basically to offer donor tissue to the breast. First, we can put in a breast implant, or we can take a back muscle, what we call LD muscle, latissimus dorsi muscle, or we can even do a tummy muscle, the tummy fat and muscle, we call a tram. So tram flap and LD flap is something which is the commonest being done to do a breast reconstruction. The surgery is not too complicated and it's actually a very safe surgery. So for patients who are not high risk for surgery and they are suitable candidate, we offer breast reconstruction so that patients know that they have an option. So mastectomy is not the only option. Of course, for patients who are a little bit older, probably more than 55 or 60 years old, who are diabetic, poorly controlled hypertension, or those who are smoker, we tend not to offer because we know that they have higher risk of post-surgery complications. So this is one example of how we do the back muscle. As you can see that, this is the muscle that we're going to harvest. This is what we call LD muscle. So what we do is that this little part is the skin. So the skin and the muscle will take it and then move it, tunnel it through the armpit, and then we put it into the breast pocket. So when we remove the breast tissue, we actually keep the breast pocket, we keep the skin. We only dig out the inside. So basically we keep the pocket intact. So when we take out the muscle, we actually can fill it up. So it actually looks just natural, just like the breast which is not operated before. So this is what we call the beauty of immediate breast reconstruction. So we're almost coming to an end. We're going to talk about breast self-examination. So breast self-examination is something that we should do and all women should know. And I also believe that they should be taught to all the young girls the moment they hit puberty or they start growing breasts, because they should know how to watch out for changes in their breasts and how to examine them. So first is to basically to just watch. Okay, you look at yourself in the mirror when you take off your clothes before you go for a shower. So you put your hand up so that you can see is there anything in the armpit, and then you see anything become more prominent as you lift your hands up, and then also you do a light press on the hips, because sometimes when you have a tumor which is a bit deeper on the muscle, by doing this maneuver, it actually become more prominent. Next is to do palpation. It means to touch the breast, to examine the breast during shower, so that when you put the body shampoo, it's actually become very nice and slippery, so it's easier to check. So there's a few ways that we can actually go around examine. This is how we do it, the search pattern. You only need to master one way. So you can either do it wedge, that means that in, out, or you can do it in circles, okay? Or you can do it line up and down. So I always tell my patients that, just choose one way that you feel that you're comfortable and you like, and that is how you should do it. And then pressure, on the outside, when it's on the outside outer layer, you do a bit more deeper, and then when it comes to nipple, you just do light pressure. So this is again how you do it when you're sleeping. You just use the opposite hand to do the same examination. So do it once when you are standing and do it once when you're lying down. And do it after your period is the best time, because before your period or during your period, you feel that your breast is very engorged. So after the period, it will be perfect because there is time that the breast has less soreness and it doesn't feel so engorged. So you won't feel like something, I'm not sure, is this a lump because of the period. So that is the best time. Remember, after the period, examine yourself. So screening. So Malaysian screening recommendation is to start at 50 and then until 74. But we believe that actually this is changing. We think that you should actually get screened much younger, and also it should not stop at 74, because now we see a lot of old people who also have relatively good health when they hit 70. So I think they should continue screening as well. Of course, you look at those who are high risk, we tend to screen them a little bit earlier, probably in their 30s. So we start screening for them. So we look at American guideline. So when you're 40, you actually should talk to your doctor about screening. So if you have chance to go for it, then you should go for it. But 45, you should do yearly mammogram, and then 55 every other year. When you hit 55 and 55 onwards, then you should have regular, probably every 2 years, every 3 years. You have to discuss with the doctor because the doctor will know that what are your risk factors, what are the changes, is there anything to be worried, to be monitored. Then the doctor will actually recommend you accordingly. So how do we reduce our risk for breast cancer? So with just a quick recap, so no smoking, limit alcohol, control weight, limit the duration of hormone therapy, we talk about that, be physically active, more fruits and vegetables, basically just a balanced diet, and breastfeeding. Breastfeeding actually helps to protect us from breast cancer, but that also provided that we breastfeed more than 1 year, then only the protective effect is significant. So thank you. Here I am the presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. That was a very informative session. I'm sure we have all learned something today. So let's begin with the question and answers now. Okay, Dr. Tan. The first question is, what should a lump feel like?
If let's say it depends on whether it's benign lump or cancerous lump. So there are a few characters that we look for. So benign lump, usually it feels like the feeling is like you put a handkerchief and you put what we call a marble, small little marble underneath the handkerchief. You can feel something rolling around. It can move. So this is usually signs of what we call a benign lump or fibroadenoma. So there's a reason why fibroadenoma is also being called a breast mouse or breast mice. So because it does move around. So if you say you have a lump which fixed to the skin, you have skin changes, and then it's sort of fixed to the underlying muscle, it doesn't move, that is not a good sign.
Okay. The next question is, does taking birth control pills for a long time have a risk for breast cancer?
Study shows that if the risk is only increased after 5 years continuous usage of 5 years and above. But yet, even that the risk is actually very, very low compared to other risk factors like smoking and alcohol. So we always say that assess your risk profile first. If you let's say you already have a high risk family history, then probably you can think of other way for doing birth control. But if let's say you're just average risk and you think this is the best way for you, I think it is still very safe. It's just that you need to keep your regular screening.
The next question is self breast examination effective in detecting lumps and early detection of breast cancer?
Yes, because the reason why we encourage breast self examinations, there's a study say that breast self examination which is not useful. So it's more now we don't talk about breast self examination alone. We talk about breast self awareness. It means you're aware of the changes. Because examination we can only pick up a lump when it's more than 1 centimeter and above, which is I think actually is still quite good. Because a lot of women they have never examined their breasts. You ask them, they say no, I have never examined. So I think the idea I always encourage patients to examine their breast is so that you get familiarized with how your breast tissue felt. Because every woman's breast tissue feel differently. Some people are very lumpy, some people are very soft, some people are a little more firm. So when you get used to the feeling, you sort of you remember the texture and the feeling. But if you have some new changes, you will pick up immediately. So that is the important part of it.
We have another question in the chat box. How young should we start checking for lumps and signs?
I think the moment you hit puberty, you start growing breasts, we should teach all the young girls to start checking their own breasts. I think that is important.
Okay. Also, by when should people start for screening for breast cancer?
So that really depends on your risk profile. So that you remember, if you remember the last slide, it depends on which risk factor, which risk group you are in. If you are high risk, that means you have strong family history, you have some positive history or previous biopsy. So all this you probably want to start a little bit younger, maybe in your 30s. But if let's say you're just average risk, there's nothing that stand out, you probably can start at 40 years old.
Okay. The next question is: in the past 5 years, has there been an increase in breast cancer survival rates?
Yes, definitely. We're seeing that actually breast cancer survivor are doing better and better because of the new drugs, and also we do think that we see commoners presentation is late stage, but we do see a little bit more of earlier stage.
We have another question on the chat box. If you have had a lump before and is it still necessary to get a mammogram done regularly?
I think it's two different issues. If you have a lump before, and as long as it's proven non-cancerous benign, the doctor probably say don't need to do anything, leave it alone. But you still need to get mammogram done regularly because it doesn't mean that this is the only lump that you're going to develop in your lifetime. You still need to look out for other possibility of developing other things. So mammogram regularly is still important.
Okay. The next question is: what are the new treatments available?
So depends on we're talking about surgery or systemic surgery. Usually, there's not much of difference in the sense that reconstruction is something that that we offer quite regularly. It's not so new. I think new treatment that's exciting, for example, for systemic will be targeted therapy, newer targeted therapy, and drugs. And also now we can actually do genetic testing and then to find out that whether what patient will be more sensitive to what kind of treatment. So this is the direction that we're moving into what we call personalized medicine.
There is another question. Upon diagnosis of breast cancer, how soon should I seek treatment?
I would also say as soon as you need it, but not like immediately because once you're diagnosed, you probably need some time to digest the information and also to clear your mind. And you probably want to seek second opinion as well. So I will tell a patient take 1 or 2 weeks off to think about it and to make necessary arrangement, but you should start treatment after 2 weeks.
Another question is: what are dense breasts and how do some people have them?
Dense breast is something to do with the breast tissue. That means the tissue are they are what we call the density is only able to be assessed through mammogram. That means when you shine an X-ray through the breast tissue, then you can see very white. Means that the light doesn't the X-ray doesn't pass through very well. So it's called dense breast. Why people have dense breast? One is because of age. When you're younger, you always have dense breast. Second, it related to what we call race or ethnicity. Certain race have tend to have denser breasts. Like for example, in Malaysia, all of three races, Chinese tend to have denser breasts. And then this is something that, or if somebody who's on prolonged hormonal replacement therapy, they also tend to have denser breasts as well. So there's many factors why somebody has dense breasts. But most of the time, it's something that we're born with.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. That's all the questions available.
Thank you very much, Carissa. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. That was an amazing and informative presentation. I don't know about the rest of you, but I always thought that the only treatment for any types of cancer is chemotherapy. But I'm glad to find out today that with the advancement in medical science and technology, we have other treatments available. So thank you, Dr. Tan, for sharing it with us. Next, I would like to introduce an incredible woman who fought breast cancer relentlessly and is here today to share her story. Please welcome Ms. Asunta Carolina Anthony Sami, PhD from the Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation. Ms. Asunta?
Hello, everyone. Okay, let me just bring my slides up. It's here. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Asunta Carolina, and I'm work very closely with Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation. I'm a survivor of breast cancer for 14 years now, so I get very excited when I'm asked to share my journey because I think sharing helps everybody understand that breast cancer is not so fearful after all. Right. If you notice, my title is The Road Taken. I got inspired by Robert Frost, who wrote about the road not taken. And this poem actually talks about each of us in our journey in life come across many roads, and we have to choose which road we want to follow. And so I'm going to talk to you the importance of our choices. And Robert Frost talks about the road that, not everyone treads. And that made a difference in his journey in life. So similarly, it happened in mine. I also am going to talk to you about the roads that I had to take and who helped me make decisions. And that decisions that I took made a big difference, right? Okay, my difficult detour with the big C. I was going through life very excited, and I had to come to a stop, a halt, a temporary halt, because I was diagnosed with cancer amidst my doctoral studies in New Zealand. So it was a difficult detour, but as you see the word, it's only a detour. It doesn't stop, it doesn't halt. Life doesn't come to an end because you get breast cancer. All right. Now, it was a thrilling takeoff. My journey was a thrilling takeoff. In May 2006, I was granted a scholarship to go to New Zealand to pursue my doctoral studies. So I was looking at the teaching and learning of mathematics in English, and I chose the title after my journey with cancer about mediating word and world, the word and the world. And that is kind of like stuck with me throughout the journey. I had gone in May 2006. I had defended my proposal. I returned to Malaysia to collect my data, and I had gone back to New Zealand. And I was in the midst of analyzing the data, coming to themes and all those things that you need to write up a thesis. And that was when I had to go for a medical examination there to actually continue my study permit because I had another 1 year to go. So when I went to the university doctor, it was a very standard procedure. So she asked me, Asunta, did you do any implant in your breast? I said, no. She said, it feels something strange with your breast. I'm going to refer you to the doctor. So when I went to the doctor, he did a needle core biopsy and he says, you know what? This is breast cancer, but don't worry, it's curable. But the way he said it didn't seem, his face and the way, the vibes that I was getting for him, he said, suspend your studies, go back to Malaysia. I've already found out for you. Malaysia is a pretty good place for you to get your treatment. Your family is there. So what I did was I suspended my studies and I came back. So I told my two supervisors, I have to go back to get my treatment done. So everybody was like so supportive. Don't worry, you'll be able to, go through this journey. And when I was there, I took 2 weeks to suspend my studies, pack my things, because the way the doctor said it was like, it's not much hope because it's an advanced, aggressive breast cancer. And that was when one of my church members in New Zealand, during that 2 weeks, kept taking me back to their home. And why? The first time I didn't understand why. Then the husband shared with me that he was diagnosed with breast cancer. He told me what to expect, and he told me, don't give up, fight every bit of it, and that is what I did. So this is my detour, the yellow part tells you from April 2008 when I came back to December 2009. That was that difficult journey. I was diagnosed with advanced aggressive breast cancer, triple negative at stage 2B. So I suspended my studies and came back. And that was that difficult detour that I had. All right. But if you notice, after that, I went back and completed my study. So breast cancer just causes a little bump in your journey of life, but it is not the stop to life, right? So, what were some of the things that I had to deal with during this difficult detour? Like Dr. Tan mentioned, that you have to go through surgery. I did go through surgery, and I did a mastectomy because for me it was very unfortunate that the lump was quite huge and it was right under my nipple. So my surgeon told me it is best to remove it and concentrate on getting better. I was diagnosed at the age of 42. So, and I was quite reluctant to do reconstruction immediately. So I took some time off. So I had to go through physical changes. And when I was going through chemotherapy, there were also many other physical changes, like your nails get discolored. I was a bit depressed, and then I had a little bit of swelling in the arm. They call it the lymphedema. I had to wear the lymphedema sleeves. And then, my hair dropped, my eyelashes dropped, my eyebrows dropped. So I didn't like what I had. But everybody kept telling me, my support group, my doctors, my family, my friends, church members, they said, don't worry, it's only a detour. And you will come back to normal. So I kept holding on to that promise of people who have journeyed before. And I said, okay, fine, I'll take one day at a time, one day at a time. So it was like becoming whole again after the whole cancer journey, right? So I actually went through, and I'm sure many others have gone through some physical changes. Some remain, like the scar I have from my mastectomy remain. It may be a scar that reminds me, oh, I had a battle with breast cancer and I was the victor. No, I was the warrior and I experienced victory. So that's a scar that sometimes, I feel vulnerable and feel sad. But many a time it tells you, hey, you have made it. And I also went through emotional changes. I kept asking myself, why me? Because just before I went to New Zealand, I had a complete checkup. Everything was normal. So why did I suddenly get this? I started questioning myself, questioning God, questioning friends. I felt that I was the victim. So I was going through these emotional changes. And while I was going through chemotherapy, I was also going through emotional changes. There were times that I feel strong and steady and I can carry on, and there are times that I feel vulnerable and I give in to that feeling. But you have to keep telling yourself that it's only temporary, and it's also because of all the chemo drugs you go through a bit of emotional change. But again, it's only a detour, it's only temporary, right? Right. So, what happened during this difficult detour between April 2008 and December 2009? This is where I learned about the new normal. So, things are not going to be normal as it was before cancer. After cancer, things are going to be a new normal for me. So, what did I do? I joined my Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, and I started to arm myself with knowledge, with friends, with well wishers, with lots of public talks about a lot of topics about food, about the environment, about exercise, about how it is having had help to go. Someone just gives you a reassuring hug and says, come on, you've done this journey, another one more to go, another one more to go, that kind of things. So if you notice, these are some of the activities that I've joined in: talks, seminars, get-togethers, makan-makan, fun times, but everything towards the goal of reaching the end of that difficult detour, right? So this is one of the things that I also attended during that time: Reach to Recovery in Australia, the first World Forum. And that is where I learned about dealing with the fears. And that we always, anyone diagnosed with breast cancer, after you have finished the treatment, you always have this fear of recurrence. And this is where joining a support group, attending talks, arming yourself with knowledge so that you are no longer a victim. That is, you empower yourself. And that empowerment helps a lot towards, your survivorship. And that is what I did during this difficult detour. I gained as much knowledge as I could so that I could handle my new normal more intelligently and more sensibly, actually. All right. So I learned to managing life beyond cancer. So I attended this wellness camp at Bukit Tinggi, and there was a range of topics and a range of speakers. And every time you retain something new, you learn something new. It is never a static thing. So, and I began to realize that, there is life after cancer. Cancer doesn't end your life. You overcome that hurdle and you continue. But again, I told myself, this is the new normal. This is where I need to learn how to manage myself, my time, and my health so that I get the best of survivorship. All right. And then I came to this is my exhilarating end. So during this time when I was, going through this difficult detour and all that for almost 22 months, I always had this niggling fear, can I go back and finish my doctoral study? Because I was all okay before that. Did the doctoral study cause this cancer to come up? Because I used to be a person whose motto is enough is not enough. More than enough is enough. So what I used to do is if my supervisor says, okay, Asunta, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time with about 15 pages of your thesis. And for me, that is not enough. 15 pages is too little. So I used to give them double. So I burned I used to sit down late at night. I used to put a lot of stress on myself. But at that time, I was thinking, oh, this is healthy stress, because I'm enjoying that learning part. I'm enjoying giving it my best. I was enjoying pushing myself, like what people say, kiasu, I was pushing myself. And, and the place that I was studying in, New Zealand, is a land of, lots of opportunities where I could go for my walks. I was eating healthy because the cheaper products were vegetables and fruits. And I was doing everything right, I thought. But unfortunately, I was also pushing my body beyond what was necessary. Late night sleep, those kind of things. So that probably led me to cancer because I come under the triple negative breast cancer and we cannot find what causes it. Probably stress, probably late night sleeps, all those things. However, I was so reluctant to go back to complete my study. Should I go back or should I not? So I spoke to my doctors and they said, no, you should go back. You should finish because life doesn't end with cancer. Go ahead, go on and finish. But remember everything that we have empowered you with. We have empowered you with knowledge. We have empowered you with, the methods to look after yourself. We have empowered you with a sensible new outlook to life. We have empowered you with this new normal. And so I went back in 2010 to complete my studies and I graduated in 2011. And that's my graduation morning tea. And this is my graduation parade, the exhilarating end, which many people thought that, even I thought that I will not be able to do it because cancer has come in my life and disrupted the whole routine. All right. And my graduation ceremony. And so this is where I was at, my difficulty detour was made easy, was made possible, was made positive by my good doctors, my friends from the Pink Ribbon, my family members, and my church. And I managed to reach the exhilarating end with graduation in my university. All right. And this is me 14 years later, having conquered the difficult cancer detour and the excitingly tough PhD journeys. And so now in my workplace, I'm a teacher. I work at a teacher training institute. Kind of every October we do this pink walks. We have some of, I have some of this weeks, and we do it as a cancer awareness, also to reach out and to tell that life, there is life after cancer. All right. And this is me at my workplace. So my life is now half of pink ribbon work and half of family, friends, and church. Right. So the road taken, my road, it was a journey. Life is always about choosing. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had many well wishers. Many of them were telling many things. Should I take alternative treatment? Should I not go through chemotherapy? Perhaps you could try this medicine. You could try this herb. You can try this jamu. I had all kinds of advice by many well wishers, but it was about taking the road that is discussed with you by a doctor. So it was a journey of weighing options. What should I do? Should I have a lumpectomy or mastectomy? Would mastectomy disfigure me? Am I going to live with the scar of the mastectomy? How is it going to change my perception? But actually, there are lots of ways to overcome, and there are lots of people out there. It was a world, it's worlds of challenges, it's a world of possibilities, it's a world of solutions. Should you choose to take the right road, it is important to take the right road. And as you can see, my journey, it was a triumphant one at the end. It was grit and perseverance. Many times during the chemo, I was like wanting to give up, But, that is when you are at the lowest that you find that people, prod you on, they nudge you, carry on. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit more. And during this journey, I received so much of love and support, you know, that helped me to actually go through this journey, because there were many people holding my hand, many people helping me, right? And it was also a journey of friendship and kinship. I made many new friends, and some of them have journeyed with me throughout and are still journeying with me in my survivorship. All right. So, what is my take home message? All right. Don't worry. It's just a detour in your journey of life. Should you be diagnosed with any illness or cancer, especially when you hear the cancer, you thought that, everybody thinks that is the end of life. It is like, oh my God, am I going to survive this journey? Remember, it's just a detour. Like we have many detours in our lives. This is just a detour. Yes, it is true. It is difficult, but it is not impossible. So I like this phrase that I found on the net, just focus on the fight and not the fright. The fight, this is your fight, and nobody can do the fight for you. But you'll be surprised that everybody is there to journey with you in this frightful journey, which you will then overcome. All right. The treatment, like Dr. Tan said just now, there are many, many treatment options. The doctors will discuss with you about what is best based on your case. All right, based on a case. And so they discuss with me, should I have all my 8 cycles first, or should I have my surgery first? Or I had the sandwich method. I did 4 cycles. I did my mastectomy, and then I continued with the 4 cycles, those kind of things. So the treatment is traumatic, the treatment is tough, but just be sensible, strong, and steady. Why do I say sensible? Don't get swayed by what you read on the internet. Don't get swayed by people who tell you about alternative treatment. Don't, be strong. You will feel it is okay to feel weak every now and then, but be strong and continue with the journey. Do whatever it takes. Healthy food, small amounts, frequently, nutritious food that helps you journey this chemotherapy should you need to do chemotherapy. And be steady, because it's just a detour. And remember, you are not alone. We'll journey with you. Just join a support group, and you will find that, there are people who have survived. If they can do it, I can do it too. So my take home message from my journey of, triple negative breast cancer, stage 2B in 2008 is this, it's just a detour. Just focus on the fight. Forget about the fright. Just be sensible, strong, and steady, and just join the support group. We are there to journey with you. Right. That's my sharing, my journey with triple negative breast cancer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Asunta, for that powerful and inspiring story. I'm sure everyone here is deeply moved and encouraged by your story. All right, now we have Ben from Beacon Hospital's marketing team who will be sharing their ongoing promotions. Ben, the floor is yours.
Hello. Yeah, hi Jerry. Can you help me to play our Beacon Hospital video first? Thank you. Okay. Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Ben from Beacon Hospital. So thank you, Miss Belinda, from inviting me to talk about Beacon Hospital, our services, and what can we bring to you guys. So, oh, sorry. So this is how Beacon Hospitals look like. We have about 80 medical specialist consultants in our hospital and around 600 staff in Beacon Hospital. So Beacon Hospital, we are in Petaling Jaya. Beacon Hospital, we are in Petaling Jaya. Maybe sometime you pass by Petaling Jaya or the southern part of Kuala Lumpur, you may see our signboard, our billboard, or our advertising things in the roadside. Yes, Beacon Hospital, but we only have one hospital in Malaysia. This is Beacon Hospital, but we do have our satellite clinic, which is in Kuantan and Klang, Beacon Oncology Medical Center in Kuantan and Klang. So Beacon Hospital, at first, we start up as the Wijaya Internal Medical Center, but in 2011, our founder, Madam Mary, she decided to took over Beacon, this Wijaya Internal Medical Center, and she renamed it as Beacon International Specialist Center. In 2015, due to that, we are not enough of clinics, we are not enough of the patients, we are not enough of the ward. So we decided, because we are getting more and more patients in Beacon Hospital, so we decided to expand our hospital. So, and in 2017, we decided to launch our nuclear medicine in Beacon Hospital. And in 2019, because we are getting more and more patients in Beacon Hospital, and we rename ourselves as Beacon Hospital Sdn Bhd. So Beacon Hospital, we are well known as a cancer hospital, but we do have a lot of oncologists. Basically, we have the largest team of oncologists team in Malaysia. We have 10 resident oncologists and 2 hematologists and 2 palliative care doctors in our hospital. So in Beacon Hospital, we offer cancer treatment from A to Z, even though for the screening, for the scans, for the report, for the treatment, you can get everything in Beacon Hospital. So in this slide, the thing that I want to talk more about is our clinical research. Beacon Hospital, our clinical research was launched on 2008. And in another point of view, Beacon Hospital, with the participation in the clinical trial, we are able to provide high standard and high quality cancer treatment for our patients in Beacon Hospital. So, and I would like to also talk about our home healthcare services, because sometimes the patient, they don't want to stay in the hospital. They want to stay in their house. So during that time, maybe usually the public don't have enough medical skills. They don't have enough medical background, how to take good care of their parents or the patients. So in Beacon Hospital, we will send our doctors, our specialists, and our well-trained nurses and healthcare assistants to your house, and based on the patient situation and based on your house condition, we'll teach you, give you guidance how to take good care of your family's members. So Beacon Hospital, although we are well known as a cancer hospital, but we do have other inpatient services such as Dr. Tan's specialties, breast surgery, and later on another speaker, Dr. Mati Arasu, his gynecology, and also nuclear medicine, ophthalmology, orthopedic, and many more. In the hospital, doctors, nurses are very important, but also other supporting services and other supporting department also very important, such as the radiotherapy department, the imaging department, pharmacy, the addition department are. So we must keep them in the loop so that we can work together and provide the best treatment and the best services to our patients. So this is how our imaging modalities look like. We have our ultrasound, our bone DSA, 3D mammogram, MRI scan, CT scan, and one of the most important scan in a cancer hospital, which is our PET-CT scan. PET-CT scan, cancer is one of the leading causes death in the worldwide. So with how to oncologists to do an accurate diagnosis, staging or restaging for the patient, we use PET-CT scan. So PET-CT scan has emerged as a powerful imaging tool for the detection for various cancers. So this is how our hospital facilities look like, our OT, ICU, inpatient beds, and many more. On this slide, I will talk about more is our Beacon Hospital 2 most important facilities and machine in our hospital, which is our Halcyon and our TrueBeam. So on the left-hand side is our Halcyon with each technology which called dual layer multi-leaf collimator is able to accurate the delivery of the radiation dose to the tumor. And on the right-hand side is a TrueBeam, and the technology is called HyperArc. It's able to irradiate multiple tumors within one time without moving the patients. So these 2 machines are basically for radiotherapy. And these 2 machine advantages are they are safe, they are fast, they are accurate, they reduce the patient anxiety during the cancer treatment, and reduce the unwanted radiation dose because they are so fast during the treatment. So I want to talk about our CSR program. So in Beacon Hospital, sometimes the medical bill are so expensive for the poor, maybe for the B40, maybe for the underprivileged people, for the public, they are unable to pay their medical bill. In Beacon Hospital, we are able to help. So if you have any financial problem, maybe for the cancer treatment, for a medical bill, please let us know. In Beacon Hospital, we are able to help you to solve this kind of problem. So this is our promotion ongoing. In Beacon Hospital, as just what I said, the PET CT scan is one of the most important scans for the cancer. So for the 18F scans, I would say it's basically the most affordable price in Malaysia, which only costs 2,000 ringgit for our PET CT scan. And our gallium-68 PET CT scan is usually for the prostate cancer, prostate tumor and the neuroendocrine tumor, which only costs 3,200 ringgit. So another thing is for our Beacon home healthcare services. So for those who need home healthcare, you may contact us. We'll send our well-trained nurses and home care assistant to your house based on your condition and based on the patient situation to give you guidance to help you. So thank you, everyone. So the bring home message today is a Beacon Hospital. You may so every cancer Beacon Hospital is a cancer hospital. Every cancer prevention save life. So make sure that you do the prevention early as you can. Maybe you have a family history of cancer. Please, maybe you are 30 years old, 40 years old, you come to the hospital for maybe a healthcare screening, and then you may know what that you can do before you get the cancer, maybe in the stage 2 or stage 3. So make sure that prevention saves lives. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ben, for the fantastic offers and promotions. In case you didn't know, Beacon Hospital is a leading cancer hospital in Malaysia. They are also known for their incredible CSR program, so do check them out. So moving on, Miss Asma Karim, another member of Team Lemonaide, will be introducing our next speaker. Asma, over to you.
Hi, hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I would like to introduce you to Dr. Mandi Arus, who is the medical director of IV Fertility Center in Beacon Hill, and he is also consultant of obstetrician and gynecologist at Beacon Hill. He have 15 years experience in these fields, and he's also recognized as a fellow in Oxford University and IB Australia. So I leave the mic to Dr. Aros.
Hello, hi. Hello, hi. Thank you, Asma. And before I start my presentation, I would like to say thank you to Asia Pacific University for having a very good webinar, which is not easy for any institution to do it. And this is the first time I'm joining a webinar hosted by an institution rather than a hospital. And well done to the Team Lemonaide. My topic is very simple. I would like to talk very focused topic on gynecological issues related to women who are diagnosed with breast cancer. Can I have my slides up, please? Thank you. All right. The aim of my talk today, can I have the slides up? Thank you. The aim of my talk today is I just want everybody who's listening to take home a few points. First of all, I would like everyone to know that when someone is diagnosed, why is it so important to know about gynecological issues when they are diagnosed with breast cancer? Because some of the treatment that affects for breast cancer affects gynecology. And at the same time, some of these issues related to breast cancer can also affect the gynecological health. And third, every woman should not neglect their gynecological health when they're diagnosed with breast cancer. Just because they have breast cancer doesn't mean they have to forget everything about the gynecological health. Because if you look at Dr. Tan's slide, the commonest cancer among women is breast cancer, but followed by gynecological cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, and ovarian cancer. So just because someone has breast cancer doesn't mean they can't have other cancers. It's pure bad luck, but they do have. So this is the reason why I think everybody should be increasing their awareness about cancer of the breast and what can it do to the gynecology health and what does it do to their the gynae health if they are diagnosed with breast cancer. Let's go to the second slide. I mean, Dr. Tan has done my work easier. She has mentioned to you about the global statistics as well as the local statistics on breast cancer. And I want listeners to know that, when women are diagnosed with breast cancer, the first thing that we always ask them is their age. Why is it so important? Because they would fall into these two categories. They could fall in outside the reproductive age group, or they could fall inside the reproductive age group. When you talk about reproductive age group, normally we'll say between 15 to 45. But of course, we don't see girls, diagnosed with breast cancer in that 15 to 25. Not so common. But 25 to 45, that's a common age group that women fall into. And if they're outside of that reproductive age group, we call them around the age of perimenopausal. So a few things that we need to know. One is their reproductive health. Just because someone is diagnosed with breast cancer doesn't mean they can't start a family or forget about having a baby. So fertility is a main concern when women are diagnosed with breast cancer. 2, menopausal health. Dr. Tan did mention, one of the treatments, is chemotherapy. Commonest treatment in breast cancer is chemotherapy. And chemotherapy does lead to menopause in some women, or it leads to lower egg reserve. Therefore, it's need to know about their fertility health. They need to know what are the issues related to menopause. And also, women who have diagnosed with breast cancer due to genetic, that Dr. Tan's slide shows that 5 to 10% hereditary, are also associated with ovarian and endometrial cancer. Therefore, women with breast cancer who have genetic predisposition are very exposed to increased risk of ovarian and endometrial cancer. Therefore, you need some form of gynecological screening to detect this cancer. So let me go to reproductive age group, which commonly seen around 25 to 45 years old. The bigger problem with these women they are seen by the breast surgeon, they are seen by the oncologist, and the main focus was, let's treat the cancer. But when you're working in a cancer hospital, you get a lot of referral because we look at cancer as a whole. Treatment doesn't only related to cancer. So we work together as a team where once the person is diagnosed with breast cancer, then the whole team comes into picture. That's where you need a counseling by a multidisciplinary team consisting of a surgeon like Dr. Tan, an oncologist who gives chemotherapy or other form of cancer treatment, gynecologists, and also nurses. So that is why it's best to address all these issues before you start the treatment, whether it could be a surgery or could be a chemotherapy. Like Ms. Asunta said, she had this chemo first, followed by surgery, and then another chemotherapy. But before even the first chemotherapy, they should have a discussion for someone who's diagnosed with breast cancer and have to go for chemo first. Therefore, always these issues should be addressed. The reproductive or gynecological health should be discussed with the patient, and if she's married, with a partner, at ideally at a pre-treatment. Should have a group of people, not one person. A group of people is what we call a multidisciplinary team looking after this person, and we must have a plan for them. It doesn't mean that once you start the chemotherapy now, you don't have subsequent plans. So normally we have a plan, 6 cycles of chemo followed by surgery and what we need to do. So it's a whole long-term plan. And this is where we always think that a lot of people are missed out. A lot of people go for cancer treatment without addressing all the issues that might be needed later on. So this is where I would talk about fertility issue. Women start their family later age nowadays. The early 30s, you start your family. Probably in the mid 30s or late 30s, you start to plan about having a baby. Marriage in the early 30s, planning for baby later. But this is the age where commonly cancers are detected at, in the late 30s, early 40s. So it doesn't mean that women, just because they are late 30s or early 40s, can't start a family, because in a normal population, this is anyway the age they want to start a pregnancy. Therefore, I think a lot of people are not given adequate information. So this is the biggest common problem in our society, that the moment diagnosis of cancer is done, everything is backshelved. So fertility is one of it, and commonly not discussed, not given the option to discuss, and 3, not even given the option to highlight during the initial stage. And two, it's very difficult to find women with the same cancer status and fertility outcome. So what happens is most women or couples, once they are diagnosed with breast cancer, what happens is they always say, a friend of mine or I heard somebody who had a pregnancy after the cancer treatment. So let's go for cancer treatment and decide on fertility later. I think that goes without saying that you cannot be compared. Fertility is one area that you can't compare. Even twins, you can't compare their fertility potential. What more with someone else? Therefore, I think it's a myth that you always should not compare and never assume that your fertility can be resumed after a cancer treatment. So have that assessed. Not necessarily someone with breast cancer needs to have a baby, but at least given the option to consider that before they undergo treatment. And each woman's situation is unique. So that's why it's so difficult to sit down with a woman one time and go through everything. The first presenter clearly mentioned that the treatment might take 2 weeks to digest the initial diagnosis, to go back home, let it sink in that it's a shock that you're newly diagnosed with breast cancer. You need some time to consider treatment, and that is the unique time that I think everybody should give themselves to explore what gynecological health or fertility potential they have. So a good example, if someone is diagnosed with a terminally ill cancer, breast cancer, of course, you should not be highlighting this. Of course, you see a gynecologist, but as a gynecologist, we always put the patient's life first. Therefore, there are certain things we would not highlight because that's not the aim of this treatment. The aim of the treatment is to prolong life, give you a better quality of life. However, in the earlier stage, if you look at beacon survival rate at stage 2 or less, it's about 100%. So you may tell the patients, you're 100% you're going to be cured of 100% survival, be cured of this cancer treatment. Therefore, fertility is a very good potential. So that's why each woman should be assessed on their stage of cancer, their age, and also what's their potential like. If they are married to someone with already having other fertility issue, then it's a different. If the woman is single, then there'll be a different issues altogether. So that's why it needs to know their status and the disease stage. And what are the options and what are the issues? Fertility can be preserved. So that is one of the areas that is booming now, not related to cancer. Even for social reason, women are preserving their fertility on social grounds. What more if they're diagnosed with breast cancer? So there are options available, and there are also associated issues. And the last one I think everybody should know is the stage of the cancer, and counseling is very, very important. Not because you're going to have fertility or gynecological health assessed now, but because it gives you a long-term outlook on what you're going to do with your life. So as a gynecologist, my role is not to treat them because they don't have a gynecological issues. My role as a gynecologist is to foresee in the next 5 years or 10 years what direction we should take for these women. What should we highlight to them? How should we assist them that cancer treatment doesn't going to do any harm to their gynecological health? And sometimes they're so worried, like Ms. Asunta said, sometimes they go for alternative treatment thinking, if I go for chemotherapy, I will never have a baby. Might as well I just skip the chemotherapy. So you would be surprised how many women actually, because of pregnancy worries, they actually undergo some alternative treatment or even, drop off the treatment. So what are the fertility preservation measures or options available? We can, one, preserve the ovarian tissue. For example, the ovaries is where the eggs are. Women are born with certain set of eggs, and you don't produce more eggs as you grow older. You actually lose more eggs you grow older. And your eggs are all depleted the moment you're menopause. But unfortunately, everybody has a different numbers, which you can't predict just by asking their age. You might be 35 years old, but your fertility like a 40-year-old. Very poor numbers. You might be 40-year-old, but you have good numbers like a 35-year-old would have. So it's very difficult to gauge fertility potential just by age. So what are the fertility preservation measures that we have? Is one, ovarian tissue. It's like taking out some of the tissue of the ovary. For example, a woman is diagnosed at 35 years old with a breast cancer stage 2, needs to go for chemotherapy in 2 weeks' time. So what we can do is do a simple laparoscopic surgery, harvest some ovarian tissue, just cut some tissues from the ovary, and these tissues can be preserved in the laboratory and kept frozen many, many years. At the moment, we have no live birth of this pregnancy in Malaysia, but worldwide people are doing a lot of this ovarian tissue. Once they are cleared of cancer, undergo chemotherapy or radiotherapy, or even after the surgery, they can reimplant the ovaries, the tissue into their ovaries, and get back the ovarian eggs in the ovary to preserve their fertility. But commonly used, this is number 2. If you look at the slide, number 2, egg freezing. This is the most commonly done fertility preservation worldwide. What we do, instead of all these eggs in the ovary, what we do is stimulate these ovaries, produce as many eggs as possible. Unfortunately, we can't get as many as we want. It's how many of these eggs are in the ovary. So if you have lower number of eggs, we can't create new eggs. Therefore, we only can get how many eggs there are in the ovaries. So at least these eggs are preserved at a younger age, at a stage where no damage to the ovaries by the chemotherapy, and they have almost 90 to 100% survival rate, meaning 10 years to come, even 5 years to come after the chemotherapy, if you have 10 eggs, almost 9 will survive out of the freezing of these eggs from the laboratory. So they have a wonderful survival rate, and they give a wonderful results. And this is commonly used fertility preservation. The other option would be embryo freezing. This is similar to egg freezing. Only thing is now you have a partner. So what we do, we take these eggs, put the husband's sperm, and preserve the embryo. So now we are preserving babies at a very early stage, 3 or 5 days old embryos. So it gives you even better potential where now I have embryos frozen. Therefore, these are babies at a very early stage, and my chances are now even better because I know I already created a baby. Next potential would be to have a baby is to transfer these embryos into the uterus. Bear in mind, uterus is also a potential organ where pregnancy happens. Therefore, we need to also make sure the gynecological health of the uterus is also preserved. That's why it's an area that, it's not only looking at the ovaries, but you also have to make sure that uterus is also assessed. And of course, the other two are not commonly used, and they don't have much use in breast cancer. So chemotherapy, how bad chemotherapy is, it causes significant damage. What it does is it kills off the eggs in the ovary. And as you know, no new eggs are produced. Therefore, whatever you have is already been damaged, and they go into an irreversible damage. You can't reverse the damages that chemotherapy does. So the moment you are given chemotherapy, it causes a big damage. But the damage varies. Younger women or lower dose chemotherapy has lesser damage. But it's very difficult to predict how much of this ovary that is damaged can actually function. If you have 20 eggs, 50% damage, you may still have 10 eggs. But if you only have 2 or 3 eggs, chances are it will be totally damaged and you would not have any more ovaries and you would go into menopause. So that's why it's very important to know how many eggs you have, what are the types of chemotherapy you're going to go through, and what are the damages of this chemotherapy to your ovaries. At the same time, just because you want to have a baby, we recommend that you should not get pregnant during the treatment or during remission. Remission meaning you're free of cancer now, assuming you're stage 1, stage 2, or even stage 3, and the PET scan doesn't show any recurrences, the mammogram doesn't show any cancer growing back, and you are free of cancer now. The recommendation is you should be at least 2 years free of cancer before you start to have a family. Some women do get pregnant during that 2 years, but what happens is if you do get pregnant in the first 2 years, your survival rate is actually lower. Risk of cancer coming back is higher. So that's why as a gynecologist, we also have to look after their fertility. They might be fertile as well, but we have to make sure that you don't fall pregnant. Problem with this contraception is you should not give them hormone because breast cancer is hormone sensitive. That's why women get breast cancer, because it's hormone sensitive. Therefore, the way we give contraception advice is a non-hormonal contraception. And we have to be very careful in choosing types of contraception that suits that couple. So on one hand, we're thinking about fertility. On the other hand, we must make sure they don't get pregnant within the first 2 years of the cancer treatment, or deemed fit to get pregnant with no cancer risk recurrences. Let's go to premature menopause. What does it mean, premature menopause? Premature menopause means that the woman has gone into menopause prematurely before their normal age of 51 to 52. If you're 35 years old, just imagine the damage it does to your well-being. Suddenly you are depleted of hormones. Suddenly you feel like you have no hormones in the body at the age of 35, 40, 45. So the damage that menopause does, not only to the health, women's health, but also to their confidence, their work life, social life, relationship life, sexual life. So it affects a lot of areas in a person. Therefore, all these issues should be addressed before even they given chemotherapy. So if you look at the one of the studies, it's called Habits Trial. It says that it's highly unacceptable for risk or breast cancer patient to be given hormone replacement therapy, meaning that if you do have menopause and you're suffering through all these effects of menopause, we are limited. We can't give you hormone replacement therapy to make you feel better, because it's very high risk of reoccurring the breast cancer. Therefore, we have to have different approach where we treat this menopausal or premature menopausal symptoms non-hormonally. So Dr. Tan's slide that I still recall is that the 10% of patients who have that breast cancer hereditary, this is the gene we're talking about, BRCA gene. BRCA1, BRCA2. The lifetime risk of breast cancer by the age of 70 increases by 55 to 60%. Assuming a person has a BRCA1 carrier, is so high. Even BRCA2 is almost 50%. So we are talking about a very high risk, lifetime risk of having breast cancer if you're a carrier of this gene. However, this gene also causes ovarian cancer. So up to 35 to 70% of the same gene can cause ovarian cancer. The same gene for BRCA2 increases up to 10 to 30% risk of having an ovarian cancer. Therefore, if you don't know you carry this gene, best is to get the genetic screening done, or a gynecology who just follow you up to assess for any of this risk of ovarian cancer. And some women, of course, like Angelina Jolie, with a very high risk of genetic hereditary, she did a bilateral removal of the ovaries. Before even cancer occurs, she removed the ovaries and went into menopause sooner than later. And sometimes they remove the uterus as well. That's very different group of people that normally we do extensive counseling to see what are the benefits of doing the surgery, or what are the benefits. Just monitor you and see which is better for them. And of course, we can't give you birth control pills, because birth control risk also increases the risk of recurrence in breast cancer. Therefore, we are limited in gynecologically to treat you for any gynecological diseases, because all this treatment can also put you at risk of other cancer as well as recurrence of the breast cancer. I'm not going to go into this. Let's go to other gynecological cancer risk. One of the treatment for breast cancer is tamoxifen. Tamoxifens are used for now up to 10 years to suppress estrogen and estrogen receptor positive tumors. Many cancers are estrogen sensitive. Therefore, tamoxifen is given. But the problem with tamoxifen, this is a treatment for breast cancer. However, the treatment increases the risk of having uterine cancer. So a treatment on one hand, good for the breast, but on the other hand, increases the risk. This is where you need a gynecological assessment to see, are you at the risk of developing a new cancer because of the breast cancer treatment? So that's why it's so important to have some form of planning, a gynecological screening or planning incorporated into women who have breast cancer and undergoing treatment. The other thing is, of course, the breast cancer, ovarian cancer, sorry. So these are the two cancers that has very close link to breast cancer, ovarian and endometrial cancer. But the other thing that I want to highlight is in my summary would be, do not assume that breast cancer treatment, undergoing breast cancer treatment, you can let go of the gynecological follow-up. I think it's a bit of a myth for most people. Just because you have breast cancer doesn't mean the other parts of your medical screening and especially gynecology guys should be at the back seat. It should be done concurrently. Go for cancer follow-up and also have that long-term gynecological follow-up. I think everybody should have a multidisciplinary team. There's no one person looking after you. There must be a group of people from looking at all angle of treatment, because it has to be a group of people knowing what to do and what not to do, and what are the risks in the next 5 years or 10 years. And I think fertility often neglected or often not highlighted in most women who have not started their family or in an early part of a relationship, or even single women, not discussed or given the option. And now I think we have so many options available that you don't have to worry or don't have to confidently, you can go through the breast cancer treatment knowing that your fertility is already been taken care. And I think personally, all women who are diagnosed with breast cancer need to have a referral pathway where they could easily access support services like what Ms. Asunta mentioned. Get a gynecological assessment, get your oncologist, get your breast surgeon all together and plan a survivorship plan for you. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your share, Dr. Arus. I have some question for you. Can women stop temporarily the treatment and then to get pregnant after that?
Very good question, Asma. We don't recommend that. Stopping the treat while you're diagnosed with breast cancer, the aim of the treatment is to complete the treatment, make sure you are free of cancer. Never assume you are free of cancer. But the problem with cancer is the first 2 years, they are the crucial. If they were to reoccur, they will reoccur in the first 2 years. That's why the magic number 2 years. So I would recommend, do not think about stopping the treatment or omitting certain treatment. Go with full confidence, but get it addressed earlier before you even undergo the treatment. Most women or most couple go for this stopping the treatment or what, because they never discuss it in the first place. If you've discussed it, address it, you would confidently go for the 2 years recurrence free. So never stop, my advice.
Okay, and the second question: if women enter the menopause, just now you mentioned about it, does that mean they will never have the ability to have a children?
No, the ability to have a children it's not related to the ovary. They might be menopause, but however, if you're menopause, you can't use your own eggs. That means you can't have a child genetically linked to you. The only option would be egg donation, and it's not acceptable for many people. For cultural reason, for religious reason, egg donation is not an option. Therefore, that's why should be addressed sooner. But menopause itself is not is a problem to be pregnant. You could actually have your embryos frozen, and now you're already menopause. You have a uterus. All we need is a good uterus to carry a pregnancy. So menopause you can get pregnant provided you have an embryo frozen from your own or through to egg donation. But menopause, definitely you can get pregnant through hormonal treatment.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me, and thanks you for your sharing.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you.
What an interesting topic. I think this topic resonates with all women. As women, we all have that fear of not being able to conceive, whether or not we have breast cancer. But hey, now we know who to look for when there's trouble in paradise. Thank you, Asma, and thank you, Dr. Arasu, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, now our last speaker for the day is the lovely Miss Samantha Paul, also from the Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, who won her battle against breast cancer. Give it up for Miss Samantha. Sam, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Belinda. Before I start my sharing session today, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Asia Pacific University for your kind invitation for us to share on our survivorship journey in support of breast cancer awareness campaign. Jerry, would you be able to put up my slides? So this is my survivorship journey and this is how I did it, yeah? A little something about me. I was diagnosed with hormone receptor positive breast cancer, estrogen receptor positive, progesterone receptor positive in July 2015 at the age of, I was at the stage 2B where my tumor size is 23 mm and the cancer has already spread to the nearest lymph node. One lymph node has been impacted. I was at the age of 36 during my survivorship and I'm currently into my 7th year of survivorship this year. I was a working professional in the corporate industry banking for the past 16 years. And after my cancer diagnosis, I have decided to step down from the corporate world. And currently, I'm a full-time staff with Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation. I have a great passion in artwork and I love to read and indulge in books. So this is my survivorship journey. Yeah, the road is long, it's winding, and it's tough. So each number here represents a pit stop that I've go through since July 2015, which was my initial diagnosis stage. So I'd like all of you to take a ride with me here as I bring you through my survivorship journey and my experience in my upcoming slides. This is my fight song. As you can see, there are 6 pit stops that I've highlighted in my earlier slide. So the first one is when lightning strikes and how I weathered the storm. Thereafter, how I learned to cope with a new normal. And also, I like to dedicate my survivorship journey to all the heroes that have helped me through and how I celebrate my life and every day I get better. So this is when lightning strikes. I was at pinnacle of my life when I received the devastating news. I was being told that I had breast cancer at the age of 36. I've always been healthy with no major health issues. So everything started off with dengue in August 2014. Dengue took a toll in my immune system, and I was thereafter dengue. 2 months later, I was having a prolonged fever. Yeah, it was fever unknown origin, which haunted me for the past 1 year. I had fever on a daily basis, ranging from 38 degrees to 39 degrees, which further depletes my immune system. So with the prolonged fever, I've conducted multiple tests, screening, and medical checkup. Everything was normal. I went to many hospitals and I've seen many specialists. But at the end of the day, the result was normal. Until an MRI scan actually picked up a fast-growing lump in my left breast. And the lump is the one that triggers the fever that I've been having for the past 1 year. I've conducted 3 times of biopsy, and all 3 biopsies confirmed that the lump was malignant. So in July 2015, I was being informed that I had breast cancer. So as you can see, this is my journey throughout my survivorship. I have to go through surgery. I did a lumpectomy where I removed the lump, and also a white excision exercise where I removed the nearby tissue and the lump and also the lymph nodes to clear off the cancer. Thereafter that, I have to go through 6 cycles of chemotherapy. After the chemotherapy, I was also being prescribed to go through radiotherapy for 23 times. And after radiotherapy, I have to take an anti-hormonal therapy, which is tamoxifen, for the past 10 years. It's because my cancer is due to hormonal, then this tamoxifen is important for me to take to actually lower my risk of cancer recurrence. Thereafter, completed all my treatment, I'll be able to go back to work and have a new normal in life. Recently, I have to undergo hysterectomy just 2 months ago to prevent the risk of breast cancer recurrence. and I'm now in a new taking a new medication, which is Arimidex, for the next 5 years. So all those treatments I've gone through has given me a very bad side effects. Okay, after surgery I had very bad frozen shoulder, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and also the anti-hormonal therapy has caused a lot of nausea, hair loss, yeah, fatigueness, mouth ulcers, fever, chills, had trouble sleeping, joint pain, neutropenia. Neutropenia is a condition where your white blood cell drops to a very low and dangerous level that you do not have the ability to fight any infection. Okay, I had that after my chemotherapy. I was having fever for a few days. Fever is ranging from 40 degrees to 42 degrees. And then I had swollen spine, chemo brain, and hot flushes. Okay, so these are the side effects that I have to go through during my about 1 year of treatment. So all you can see, all these little yellow hearts is I celebrate every milestone every time I complete a treatment or every time I complete a surgery. I celebrate them because that is an achievement for me. It is not easy, but every time I've completed it, I feel triumph and a champion at the end of the day. So this is how I weathered the storm. Okay, this is my second pit stop. I was lost, angry, and devastated upon receiving the news because for someone at a young age, I did not being expected that I'll be told to have breast cancer. I have no family history of breast cancer. However, I have learned to accept the news and move on. So once I have moved on, I took the opportunity to understand my diagnosis. Not every breast cancer survivor have the same diagnosis. Everyone will be different, okay, depending on the characteristic of your breast cancer. And I also have frequent discussion and meetings with my surgeon, oncologist, my medical team. This is to understand what is the potential treatment that I have to go through and what is the side effects that I will experience as well. So being in control, having the knowledge of what treatment that I need to go through, it eliminates the fear. And also knowledge empowers, where I did a lot of research and I read reliable materials on breast cancer. So a lot of research like how to survive well, nutrition and diet care, maintaining a healthy and strong immune system, look good and feel good. So all this knowledge is important because it equips me in my battle against breast cancer. It's also important to get connected and have a strong support system. My family, friends, survivors from the Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation, they are the sources of my strength and hope to keep the fight. I was never alone in the journey. So when I met the survivors from the foundation, I was amazed with their openness against the fight for breast cancer. So I look up to them. They are my inspiration in my fight against breast cancer. And of course, positive mindset is also very important. We must have faith, yeah, in this journey because it is already the winning factor in the battle against breast cancer. So the treatment was very harsh and tiring. And I had, like I mentioned to you earlier, I had a lot unbearable side effects, which lasted for more than a year. And the mental recovery took much more longer to recover. This was actually the toughest moment in my life. So I found solace in my artwork and coloring. So these are some of the artworks that I did during my treatment. Yeah. So the artwork and coloring actually heal me emotionally. It calms me down and soothe all my anxieties. My colors here reflect my healing process. And at the end of the day, it was a great sense of achievement, satisfaction, and tremendous relief for me. The journey is long, winding, and difficult. However, with strong willpower, I am home free. So this is to share with you some of my artwork that I've done, and I still continue doing it because it gives me a lot of peace of mind. So I'd like to dedicate to all the heroes in my life. They've made a lot of difference in me. So having cancer had made me realize the amount of love, the support, and the encouragement that I have received unconditionally. All of them, my family, my best friends, and my pink sisters are my source of strength. I am eternally grateful to all the support and care that I have received, and I'd like to take this opportunity to dedicate and to express my gratitude to them. To my wonderful parents who love me dearly, my siblings, family members, amazing friends, and dedicated team of doctors and nurses, my pink sisters, thank you very much for everything. So these are some of the activities that I've joined with the foundation. Okay, we conduct many activities for breast cancer survival, uh, for education, and also social activities. So next is how I celebrate life. There is life after breast cancer. Cancer is not a death sentence. It is a blessing in disguise for me. I like to say that my life is much more better after cancer diagnosis. So I'm truly grateful to be given a second chance to experience my life all over again. And I count my daily blessings in life. So every morning being able to get up from bed is actually a bonus for me. And being have the ability to return to work is also a joy, a strength, and a renewed confidence for me. So life doesn't not end with cancer. Life ends when we give up hope. Hope is the only thing stronger than fear. This is my new beginning and my new chapter in life. So some of the pictures here I'm sharing is um, this is my first hike that I've done after my cancer treatment. This was in New Zealand. I went to New Zealand and I did the glacier hike. So it is a very good achievement for me. Yeah, because I've not done hiking before, and this is something that I have achieved right after my treatment. So this is pit stop number 6. Every day I get better. Whatever life throws at you, even it hurts you, be strong and fight through it. Life never leaves us empty. It always replaces everything that we have lost. If life asks you to put something down, it is because it wants you to pick something better. And remember, every exit has an entry somewhere, every end has a new beginning, and every dark cloud has a silver lining. So never leave hope. It means life means possibilities. And I like to stress on this. Do not give up hope. Have a little faith to sail through. Pick up the courage to beat the odds. And above all, love conquers everything. Love for yourself and love for the people who support you. So before we end the session or before we end my sharings today, I'd like to inform everyone, please do get your regular medical checkup. Okay, mammogram every year for ladies age 40 and above. Or if you are, at the age, starting at the age of 20, you can do your monthly self breast examination. Also, diligently do your medical checkup. Check for any changes in your body. Listen to your body. If there's any persistent pain or persistent symptom that doesn't go away, it's best to get uh, your medical checkup or speak to your doctor right away. Like my fever, it is actually a symptom that tells me that I'm having cancer. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, early detection saves life. So this is my story, this is my journey, and this is my fight song. This is my celebration of life. Thank you everyone for your time, and I wish you a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank you, Miss Samantha, for sharing with us your amazing journey. I know it's not easy to recount those painful memories, let alone share it with all of us here today. That was incredibly brave of you, Sam, and we are all inspired by you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our webinar. I would like to thank our speakers, Dr. Tan, Dr. Arasu, Miss Asunta, and Miss Samantha, for taking your time to present at our Shield Your Girlies webinar today. Also, a special thanks to Beacon Hospital and Pink Ribbon Wellness Foundation for collaborating with us and in making this event a success. Finally, to all our audience, thank you for being here and for your support. We hope that you have benefited from this program like we did. Remember, early detection saves lives. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your weekend.
Pengesanan awal menyelamatkan nyawa.